you're starting your brokerage from scratch with no brand and no legacy. So the first thing you do is you establish a vision, and then you recruit to that vision. So whatever your particular vision is, we did this when we built Good Life Team years ago. Is that we had a vision of being able to take an average real estate professional, average real estate agent, and really turn them into a full-time real estate professional. That was our vision.
Hello everyone, Sergio Tiffer here, and welcome to a very special episode of Cracking the Code, the podcast where we explore the strategies, systems, and mindset shifts that drive real growth in today's real estate market. Today's guest is someone at the forefront of industry change, a strategic advisor, data-driven operator, and someone who's shaping how brokerages and real estate leaders redefine what success really means in this new era. Jack Miller is the president and CEO of T360, the most trusted real estate consulting and analytic firm in the industry. Under his leadership, T360 has helped the largest brokerages and franchises in North America evolve through research, structure, and strategic clarity. Friend, it's been a long time. What, since August last year?
Terrific. So glad to be here.
Awesome. I remember it was funny when we saw each other last time at the Tom Ferry Summit, because I don't know if you remember these ladies that they were in my booth. You kind of started acting like a salesperson, and then in the middle of the conversation they just looked back and we were like, what the hell is going on with these two?
Yeah, I kind of fit in. I fit in pretty naturally in that representing our some of our partners and the things that they do really well. So that's fun, But it was legit. Like, I wanted to tell them, like, you guys do great work for us and for a lot of our clients.
Well, I appreciate it. So Jack, for the people that don't know who you are, why don't you give us a little background about yourself and what is it that you're doing right now?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Jack Miller. I'm the president and CEO of T360. T360 is a management consulting and research firm that's dedicated to residential real estate brokerage. We also own and operate Real Estate News, which is the industry's largest dedicated media site, realestatenews.com. It's a fairly new site. We founded it. It's a little over 3 years old, and now has a significant amount of readership within the real estate brokerage industry. And my personal background, I was in technology industry in the 90s. And then in 2001 was recruited to a little company at the time called Keller Williams Realty that was founded here in Austin, Texas. At that point was kind of a regional franchise, had about 100 stores and about 9,000 agents. So like a good sized regional company, but not a huge company by any means. And the friend of mine that recruited me to it said, grab onto this one because this is like a real estate startup and they're really growing. So I was employee number 28. I worked directly for Gary Keller and Mo Anderson, who Mo was Gary had appointed as the CEO at the time. And I was there for about 5 years. And the company grew from about 9,000 agents to about 55,000 agents in that 5 years. So they added a lot of agents, and we opened about 600 stores. And while I was there, I led all the technology development, systems development for the company. We built everything that Keller Williams needed in order to become a national and then international franchisor. And during the period of time I was there, the goal was always to be the largest franchisor. And Keller Williams achieved that in the 2000s. So they got there. So I kind of grew up inside of a high growth residential franchise network. While I was there, I became a franchise owner. I invested in some franchises with some partners who were opening up the Minnesota region. We actually ended up owning 6 stores in the Twin Cities market. And I got involved with operations of those brokerages. And then after about 5 years at corporate, I went to CEO, and I said, you know what? I think there's a great career for me, both as an operator and also as a consultant to other operators that are opening up stores. So I started my consulting career in 2005, primarily working with Keller Williams owners who were opening offices or relaunching offices, worked with a lot of big sales teams in that network, and did that for about 3 years, built a 7-person consulting team, and worked exclusively with Keller Williams brokerages and and real estate teams, some of the big teams that were kind of establishing the whole team concept in the 2000s. And then after that, I left Keller Williams. One of the teams I was consulting for said, "Hey, let's go start another brand." And so we started a brand in Austin, Texas called the Good Life Team, and built that for 5 years. And we were recognized. We won a bunch of awards. We won an Inman Award. We were recognized by Apple as a business innovator. We were the first brokerage to adopt the iPad as our operating platform. And so that was, Apple loved that. They sent people to our offices and showed how we had moved real estate onto the iPad. So it was a fun time. So I did that, was hands-on, got licensed, sold real estate, managed to lead a lead team. We were, handling between 300 and 400 leads a month, and really learned about all that consumer interaction and, the mechanics of lead conversion. We built all of our own tools. We built a Salesforce-based CRM and added a lot of systems around that. So I got very in the weeds of actual real estate brokerage operations. And after doing that for about 5 years, I met Stefan Swanepoel, who is at that time was one of the most popular speakers in the industry, but also had written a lot of books about the industry. At this point, I think we have 67 titles in total, all about real estate that he's written or co-written with our team. And so he and I started talking about building a McKinsey, like a McKinsey Consulting or a Boston Consulting or any of these large management consulting companies. Why don't we take your consulting background and background in research and speaking, right, and create a firm dedicated to helping real estate brokers and sales teams and franchisors and the whole industry really become more successful. And so we started that effort in 2013 and rebranded this company to T360 in 2015. I've been there ever since. Today we have about 40 full-time people with us. We have I think 15 people in frontline consulting, and there's almost no project in real estate that our team hasn't done. Everything from management restructuring of companies, selecting technology to M&A work. We've done a lot of executive placement and hiring for companies. We place about 20 to 25 executives a year. We do a lot of product consulting. We do a lot of work with tech companies that are trying to enter residential brokerage industry. So we have a pretty broad span of services. And then about 3 years ago, we added real estate news as a media portal. It's really based around our philosophy around objective, neutral, and fair research. We apply the same philosophy to news. So that's kind of the whole arc. There's a lot of little details in there, but I'm basically I became a real estate person in 2001, and I'm entering my 25th year in the industry. And I personally work with hundreds of brokers on everything in their business, from their financials to their operations to their staffing to recruiting to systems to lead management, all of that. So there's really almost no part of real estate our organization hasn't touched extensively, and I've had hands in a lot of it. So that's a quick summary of me, my career, and a little bit about T360.
I appreciate the summary, but I understand that you guys are now expanding into technology companies as well, right? Software companies, software development companies.
So technology practice has been a core part of our business since about 2015. So we've always done product and software development consulting for companies, especially companies that are coming into our industry from another space or expanding their product sets. And so we currently have about almost 100 technology companies that we do business with, mostly in helping them develop products and doing go-to-market plans and strategies. And it's a lot of the big names in the industry we've done extensive work with. So we've worked with all of the portals, Zillow, Realtor.com, and Homes. We worked with Inside Real Estate, with MoxieWorks, with Lone Wolf, Constellation Data Labs. Almost any who's who in the industry on the tech side we've done projects with. And I'd say that's one of the strengths of the team. We have a lot of hands-on experience with technology products applied into brokerage or franchise or MLS. We're very facile with that part of the business.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been in business for over 20 years now, right? You said started around 1991. I mean, you have?
Or not, so the business, Fawn's business was started in '98, and so we're approaching. We're getting close to that 30-year mark.
30-year mark. Yeah. So, in terms of success now in 2026 versus the teams and brokerages that you were used to deal with back in 30 years ago, 25 years ago, do you think the fundamentals have changed between then and now in terms of managing your own teams and brokerages?
Yeah, there's a shift happening. The fundamentals of running a good business have not changed,
Right.
but I think that the focus now is that there's really two models that are emerging as the kind of dominant models in the industry. And one model we refer to as kind of the unit economic focused model. And those are typically like fee-based models where agents pay a transaction fee or a desk fee, or there's some kind of fee basis for their being there. And those models are attractive to agents. They're attractive to agents who know they're only going to sell 5 or 6 homes a year, and they need to maximize every dollar in that transaction. They're willing to do some of the labor involved, some of the administrative work, things like that. And so we see that those models have grown a lot. And then the other model that we've seen that the industry is really coalescing around is really the full service model, where the agent focuses on selling and the brokerage provides them with administrative services and support. And that is really an income maximizing model where the agent is trying to make as much money as possible. They're not going to just do 4 or 5 transactions a year. They want to do as many as they can do. And so the more they can offload to their broker or to their support systems, the better. And I'd say that the success today really is knowing which model you're implementing and then doing a really great job at implementing that model, right? Whether you're focused on unit economics and low cost of service to the agent, or if you're full service and you do a lot for them. Either one, you can totally win. I find the struggle with companies that are in the middle. They try to serve everybody, and they're trying to compete both with the full service companies and with the fee-based companies. That's a real struggle right now because you have strong competition in both camps, and so you're kind of competing with the best of those two ends of the spectrum if you're in the middle. So that's what I think's changed from during the course of my career, and teams play a factor in that, and kind of the whole dialogue around specialization and outsourcing to companies like you guys, where you're like, hey, we're going to give many administrative tasks to a third party that's going to help us get those done, so our agents can focus on selling. I mean, that's a very important conversation, especially in that income maximizing type model. If that's really the goal, for the agent to make as much money as possible, they need to get all the dollar producing activities off of their to-do list, and they need to give them away to somebody else.
Yeah, and I was looking at on my phone because I didn't remember the exact percentage, but it says that 71% of the agents didn't sell a house in 2025. That's a huge percentage. So you think that these fee-based companies, I mean, how do they get affected with something like this? I mean, is everyone going after the 30% that did sell a house, or is it recruiting something like a nightmare right now? Everyone is.
There's a lot of room in the market for different kinds of agents. I mean, I think the industry, one of the myths that I like to poke a hole in this industry is that the only model of success in real estate is not necessarily the agent that is full-time selling 20 to 30 deals a year. I mean, that is one model of success in our industry, but there's plenty of agents that have a good career and they sell the average. They sell 4 to 6 homes a year, but they just focus on working with their network and the people that they're connected to. And their supplemental income, their second income, their retirement income. And they actually, a lot of times, have a lot more time to spend with their clients because they're not pressurized into that, full-time income in real estate. Right. So I think there's sort of there are many different ways to be successful in this industry. And there isn't, the industry loves to beat up on part-timers, but what I think they should really say is unprofessional, right? We should be hard on agents that are unprofessional. We should cause them to improve and get better or get out, right? But if an agent is like, hey, I'm selling 4 homes a year and that is meeting my needs financially because it's supplemental income, or I'm a second income, or I have other responsibilities like taking care of an aging parent or children or a family situation, then that's fine. And the good news is we have very good models today, business models and companies that support that spectrum of engagement with the industry. And I think you can be a very professional agent and not have to sell, a ton of homes every year, as long as you're good at your job and you maintain your training and you use the systems and tools that are provided to you by your broker and you adhere to the standards, right? So I think there's many ways, and I don't want to pigeonhole it into like, oh, well, there's only 200 agents in the industry that work recruiting, because I don't think that's true for some models. Some models do great with that agent that is really doing the average number of transactions per year, and so no reason to beat up on them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we spoke about the past, the present, now the future. AI is coming. A lot of noise in that space. What do you think is the future of brokerages and teams? Moving forward, and has AI rapidly taken over a lot of the stuff that we're doing on a daily basis?
It's a great question. We held an AI workshop last fall that was specifically aimed around that question. And now we're doing a monthly mastermind with our clients on practical implementation of artificial intelligence into brokerage and teams. And really, the change we're undergoing now is looking at every task that is in real estate and deciding which tasks the humans are best, which tasks can the humans be assisted with some artificial intelligence technology, and which tasks can we give away completely to an AI or an agentic platform to take care of us, because that's going to allow people to be more effective and really focus on dollar producing activities. So ultimately, the people that are going to win now are going to be the people that learn which areas to focus on, the people versus the agentic or the artificial intelligence technologies, because it's all about that leverage. There are some people I've seen that have said, hey, I don't want to use AI, I don't want to do my business. And I really think that's the same. That's almost like making a statement 25 years ago. Well, I don't really want to use the internet, or I don't really want to show up on Google, or I don't want to use a mobile phone, right? Those are it's the equivalent. It's like, no, this is what will give people additional competitive edge and just more time. I mean, you can focus more on being a person, which is what our consumer values, is that personal touch, that actual lived experience of a human being who's walked through houses and helped people. Like, that's what, when you ask consumers what they value about our industry, that's the thing they value, is that personal service aspect of this industry and the high knowledge that a person has that's really hard for a machine to have. Machines never walked through a room, never sent their kids to school. That's not their experience. But so I think it lets people be more human and focus on that, and give the jobs that are good for machines to machines. And I really think that'll be a significant differentiator in the next five or so years, as we sort out which technologies can make agents more productive and businesses more efficient.
Right, but are those workshops on an agent base level, or are you also going after the leaders and the owners?
These are workflow based, where we're looking at what are all the steps that it takes to get a transaction done. What are all the things that happen from the moment a listing contract is signed, until the property is sold. And you look at what are all the things that need to happen in there. We're actually, in our workshops, we ask brokers who are out there, and teams are out there experimenting all the time, to bring us the best thing you've built lately. And it's really cool, because we're getting people come and bring in ideas that that I wouldn't have thought of, where they're like, oh, we completely optimized houses, and they figured out a whole open house strategy that utilizes some AI tools in their brokerage to make their open houses more effective. And now their agents are more effective with open house strategies. So it's just, I have example after example of these things that people have brought to us that are making their businesses, more effective. And honestly, it's a lot of fun, because you get to look at everything you've been doing and saying, let's reimagine it. Let's do it a completely different way now. And that's very energizing for those that like to create and build and create this whole new world that we get to live in. So it's pretty fun. The workshops have been great.
And I know that part of that question, I know it's a loaded question, but companies like Zillow, I know they're trying to implement AI heavily and trying to push the agents away a little bit, and because right now they're not even the middleman, I would say. I mean, they're just a platform where you're going to look for houses. but they're trying to become the middleman where AI is going to sort of help buyers and sellers connect with each other and avoid or jump over the agents and the teams and the brokerage. And I guess that will depend on local regulations and national regulation as far as how that's going to operate. But what do you think about that? Because it's very, I mean, for me, I wouldn't say it's an interesting. I think there are certain, like you said, there are certain activities that still need human touch. And I don't know if I will feel, I mean, at least not me, will feel comfortable negotiating the house with a buyer and, or a seller for that matter through a platform. And if anything goes south, then I have no help from anyone.
I think people, and this all shows up in, the survey work and focus group work that's done with consumers, and 1000 Watts done some great work there. They're good friends and partners of ours. And people want to work with people on this big, complex transaction. And it isn't that, I think that the agent that wins is the agent that figures out how to leverage those tools to help them do a better CMA, help them do a pricing strategy that's going to be more effective. There's great ways to use the AI tools today, make you a more effective agent. But ultimately, this is a business where your clients want to sit down with you and look you in the eye and say, is this a good offer? Is this home right for our family? That's what they want. And I don't think that's something that the machines can deliver at this point, and maybe not ever, because it's very human. Living where people live is one of the most human things we do, is how we choose to live and why we choose to be there. And so I think an AI agent can help you with that, but I don't think it's going to get you all the way through the process, and it's not what the consumer wants. And that's pretty clear from the surveys and focus group work that's been done already. They want to be connected to a person.
Yeah, I agree. So I have another question for you. I know you guys are fully remote as a consulting company, right? That's my understanding.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess graciously you guys have virtual assistants with those that work in an office. So it's a different concept that we have here. And I know one of the struggles that many team leaders and brokerages have is that a lot of them just don't want to spend any time in the office. They just want to be remote 100%, and they struggle with culture essentially. And you don't seem to struggle with that. I mean, you seem to have a very nice culture inside of T360. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, it's a little unfair to compare us to a brokerage. A little unfair,
I know,
because a lot of our employees are very high level people that have run businesses before and executive before. So our I'd say our staffing is a little unusual. Not everybody in the company is that way, but we have a lot of that, and so they're pretty good at being accountable and showing up and doing the things they need to do. We do have staff level resources, and I'd say that the strong relationship with their primary manager and also relationships with other people in the company is important. So one of the things we encourage is building relationships, not just with your manager, not just with your peers, but other people within the company. And so we host regular meetings to do that. We also do try to get the team together in person, either the whole team or groups that get together pretty regularly. Even though we're virtual, I still see a lot of my team because we have specific meetings and offsites that we do. We have meetings with clients where we'll have 2 or 3 people come out at the same time. So it's a little different than just being completely remote all the time, where we actually do get in person. And I think if you are running a virtual business, you need to look at how you can create moments where people do get together in order to establish and build those relationships tighter. I do think if you have junior people, it's really important to do that, because people that are early in their career, I think that in-office experience is important. I think that supervisory experience is very important. And listen, the brokerage that my partners and I ran in Austin was an in-office brokerage. People came in every day. We did an in-person sales huddle. We played music. We talked about our wins. We talked about what we were going to go do that day. So I still think there's a lot of power in office culture where you can create it. It just happens to be our business. I've got people all over the country, and we need to operate virtual. And we also need to travel. And, it's just, that's an aspect of a consulting business that maybe isn't the same as a brokerage business.
Yeah. I understand it's not the same, but I know, and I've seen it on my clients a lot, that they struggle to have their agents come into the office. And that's a reoccurring theme with
Yeah.
everyone. And as you know, you kind of lose momentum when you have agents that don't want to come into the office and they don't.
Yeah.
Some
some
agents are
simple stuff.
accountable.
There's some simple stuff like feed them, give them food, do something fun together. Like we did in our office. We would have sphere of influence calling nights where we'd say, look, there's going to be pizza, there's going to be beer. We're going to call through our networks. We've given you guys a script, and here's a free thing we're giving away. And we'd award people when they, whoever contacted the most people or set the most appointments. So do things to make it fun, and that's part of like I think people don't just show up now because you tell them to, and they especially don't in the independent contractor world, which is real estate. So you've got to have a value proposition for your in-office meetings. And so give them some kick butt training. Bring in a really interesting speaker who's going to deliver some value to them. Provide high value materials when they come in. So it's one of these things where if you want people to come in, you've got to create a competitive value proposition for why they would do it. And it can't be the same old sales meeting that maybe you ran 10 or 15 years ago, which people came in for. It's got to be high value. And so that would be my advice. And make it unique. Make it something that's specific to your culture, your company. If you've got a person who's great at training, let them off the chain, and let them do a great in-office train for you every month and get everybody to come in. That's the kind of thing. That's the way people have to think about it. You're competing with all these other things that draw people's attention, and you are working with independent contractors, so they have to feel it. So use music, use emotion. Give away awards, make people excited to come in because they're going to see their peers. And I do think in-office culture for some companies is a huge, huge competitive advantage. I know it was for our company. It was a huge competitive advantage. We took agents selling, 4 or 5 homes a year, and we get them to 20 homes a year within 18 months. And part of it was strong in-office culture, getting people to come in, listening to their phone calls, training them on the spot, giving them feedback. That all that kind of stuff where they felt value when they came in. That's how you win. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it. Yeah, I mean, for us internally, it's been huge from huge value having the people in the office and the managers, which is we've been able to plow forward quickly, just having that momentum. So all right, so T360 is very well known for their deep analytics and market analytics. What are some of the trends that you guys are, tracking right now in 2026? Is there anything specifically that you guys are tracking?
There's a few things that we're watching or we've been watching for the past couple of years. And it's so great. We have so many more publicly traded real estate companies now, which is fantastic for a company that likes to study numbers. We also get we do hundreds of engagements a year where we get access to brokerages financials and their operating performance metrics, things like recruiting. And so things that we are watching a little more closely now, we're watching the expenses of what it costs a brokerage to have an agent at their company, and just saying, well, what are you spending per agent so that you've got a handle on that? And we're also watching what is the cost of putting a transaction through your brokerage? What does it cost you just to have, if you take all the transactions and all your operating expenses, we leave out marketing because that's separate, but all your operating expenses, and see what does it cost you to run a transaction. And that usually is very telling. And I can tell you the big publicly traded companies, especially these, cloud brokerages or brokerages that are designed around efficiency, they are driving that number down. And so that's a good goal for any broker owner or any team leader to have. Is like, how can I make my systems, make my support and staffing as efficient as possible? If 10 years ago, a transaction coordinator could support 20 transactions a month, with all the new tools and systems and AI and things that we can do now, that number needs to be 80 to 100 transactions a month now. So we're seeing companies that are saying, hey, we can grow more without having to add more staff. Or we've decided to partner with a firm like yours and change our cost profile around staffing so that it's less expensive to bring staff in.
Hire virtual assistants.
Yes, exactly. So, but virtual assistants, artificial intelligence, and good systems, those are the things that we think, if you're measuring your cost per transaction, What does it cost you to support an agent? Huge numbers. We also want people to look at what is their net profit per agent. When people get focused on net profit per agent, it helps them get focused on recruiting. And they go, okay, I know for every agent I bring in, I add $8,000 of profitability or $10,000 of profitability in my business. That, as an owner or a leadership team, that gets you real focused on recruiting to understand, like, oh, well, if we want to make X dollars in profit this year, then we need to have this many agents to do that. And then, each agent you bring in, it's like ringing the cash register. Okay, I just made another $10,000 this year because I've got this agent with me. I just made another, $20,000 because I recruited another agent. So that's very motivating, and we think those are good numbers. Those are good numbers to pay attention to, right now, in particular.
Speaking about recruiting, I've seen it both ways, where perhaps they recruit too fast and too much, and where they don't recruit at all. What's some of the strategies that you think that team leaders and workers should follow when it comes to recruiting?
People get focused on the wrong stuff, or they're unfocused, right? So those are the big problems we see in this area. So what you want to focus on is recruiting the right agent for your business model. And you should not be a solution for everybody. If you're trying to be a solution for everybody in your market, then you're probably not a good solution for a lot of people, because then you're not focused. And this time you need to be focused on what is the kind of agent you want to attract that becomes productive with your system and stays in your system. Right? And that means there's a lot of agents that are not a fit for, I don't care what brokerage I'm talking to. There's a lot of agents that are not fit for your brokerage, and you shouldn't waste any time on them. And you should focus in on the ones that are a good fit for your model, where you have the tools and the systems and the culture and the support to make them productive. Right? And that's really what people need to focus in on is what agents are a great fit for our company. What agents do we help the best? And then the next question people ask, they go, well, how do I know what agents to recruit? And then I say, well, who are the agents that have joined your company and become successful? And then that's your model, is you go find, like, every broker listening to this, every team leader listening to this, you've got agents that have joined you that have come from wherever they were to where they are now, and they're happy and successful where they are. That's the kind of agent you recruit. That same agent 5 years ago or 6 years ago, you're looking for that person who's going to grow into that agent that is your successful agent today. And so that's who you focus on, because that's who you help best. So it's all about matching your value proposition to the agent that it helps the best. And you focus on that kind of agent, and you ignore the noise, and you don't get caught up in, I have to recruit X number of agents. No. You got to recruit the right agents that drive your profitability. That's the purpose. That's what you're doing.
Absolutely. All right. So tech and ROI. Now, I know this is going to be a loaded question, and maybe will be very difficult for everyone to apply, but since you have coach and you have clients or are large, so to speak, now that AI is taking, or it's becoming easier to develop tools internally. For example, I have developed pretty much every tool that we use at VOOV Virtual Assistants internally, from noise canceling to internal CRM to internal communications. Everything has been developed internally by our IT team. And it's because of AI, it's become easier to do that. So what do you think about large brokerages developing their own internal tools using AI and other, or softwares, for that matter?
Yeah, our advice has not really changed in that category from what it's been for a while now, but now it's a little more nuanced. So in general, I tell brokers that if they're going to develop tools, you have to have staffing appropriate to doing that. Some brokerages don't have staffing appropriate to doing that, or they don't have support appropriate to doing that. If you don't have a partner, or you don't have the right people to do it, you're probably going to spend a lot of money and waste a lot of time. So I'd say, first of all, before you get into this, you commit to something, make sure you're going to staff it properly or partner properly with a company that can support you doing this kind of, like, I'm going to build some tools for my agents to use, right? I also tell people, don't build commodities. Like, build things that are unique to your business or help your business be more unique, because everybody has the commodities. Everybody's got the off-the-shelf stuff. And if you rebuild the off-the-shelf stuff, it's not really going to create enough. It's not going to be a huge cost advantage to you. It's not going to be, you're not going to build it. It's going to be so much cheaper because you'll expend all this money trying to keep it current with whatever the latest CRM or the latest web developer thing is. Like you're basically competing with the market of people who are specialized in doing that. So don't build commodities, build specialized things that are unique to your model. And then the third thing I tell people is do things with your private data. Most brokerages have a lot, especially large brokerages, have a lot of data that's proprietary to them. Their agent performance
Right.
data is super unique. Their showing data, their additional data around their own listings, all the data from their agent, the tools that the agents use. Like there's data that you have, most brokerages have, but they just don't do anything with it. And if you can use private data that nobody else has access to, you build something that is unique for your business or your model, and you do it in a cost-effective way with some of these new tools, that's a winning formula. And so examples that people go, well, what do you mean by that, Jack? What should I be building? It's like, well, most people have really interesting data about agent performance. And if you have all of that available to you, available in an AI, you can ask the AI questions like, hey, looking at my current roster and looking at the roster of all the agents that I have, who in my current roster shows the best aptitude for increasing and developing their business? Who should I focus on coaching up? Hey, in my roster today,
Right.
who are the people who are at risk? Based on my performance data, who are the agents that I think are most at risk? So there's a lot of things that you can do like that will give you a competitive edge. But I say focus on not commodities, things that are really fit to your business, that would make your business unique, and things that use your private data or private data sets that you have as a broker, especially the larger brokers. You have a lot more data than you think.
Yeah. We're talking about the brokerages that have 200 plus, 300 plus, 400 plus agents. I mean, I guess that's a good size brokerage to test something like that, right?
Good size. Yeah, it's very good. I would say one of the things to mind too is a lot of those larger brokerages, you probably have training and support materials and all kinds of things that you supply to your agents. AI is great for that stuff, for making it more accessible, for creating like a super coach, for creating, this is all the collected knowledge of all of our trainers. I mean, we've been all recording. How many Zoom videos have we recorded over the last 10 years to train agents? There's a lot, right? So those are things that can be read and put into an AI engine and made valuable for your agents at a high level. So that's if you're thinking about doing custom stuff, those are some places that we see value right now for those kind of 200 to 400 person brokerages and up and bigger.
Oh, right. Yeah. All right. I love this question is leveraging virtual assistants. How are you personally leveraging virtual assistants, Jack?
Yeah, so our company started working with virtual assistants about 5 years ago. And honestly, the way we treated it was we have talented staff already. And what we needed in order as a growth stage, we're a growth stage company. And so as a growth stage company, we needed to empower the existing talented staff that we have. And so the model that we followed is where we have a person who's on our staff who needs to do more, then what we do is we give them a virtual assistant to help them do more and to take what they're responsible for and create more capacity. And so we're building little teams under each of our different areas. So we have Andrew, who does our project management for all of our consulting clients. And we've given him one of your team members to help him do that. Over in finance, we have Cynthia on your team who works with our finance team. It was a way of extending our finance. We have 2 people in finance that are US based. We said, well, we need another person to help our finance team because of the high volume things that they have to do. And so that's what we've taken that approach with each team, is to say, let's extend the capacity of our existing team and give them some virtual assistants that can then let them do more. And then they also learn how to manage a virtual team. They learn how to become more efficient by giving away lower value tasks. They've got somebody who can take those on, and now they can focus on the high value tasks for them and really enable them to deliver more for us without a significant change in cost. The cost advantage of hiring VAs is substantial. So that's how we've used it, and it's touched sales, marketing, financial, and back office. Like those are the 3 areas that we've done. It's touching consulting projects as well, where we get staff support. for our consultants on writing proposals, doing work product, taking data from the clients, tracking the client down, making sure we get meetings scheduled, all that kind of stuff. That's great because now it lets our consultants focus on high dollar activities with our clients, which is usually meetings and providing the guidance that they provide in those engagements.
So how do you think that teams and brokerages should then utilize and leverage VAs? Because I'm sure it's way different, right?
Yeah, it's exactly the same model. Take a talented,
Okay.
if you've got a good marketing person on your team, give them a virtual assistant so they can focus on the higher level tasks. If you've got a good sales leader or sales manager, give them a virtual assistant in order to handle all the mundane stuff, schedules, calendaring, questions from the team. Give your talented people a support person that is virtual, and then that support person will enable them to do more. And it's the same thing you would do with an agent. If you've got an agent, other than, so there's two ways you can help an agent make more money, right? There's two fundamental ways. One is you coach them into selling a higher value, higher dollar properties, either higher dollar properties or more properties, but usually more properties is harder. It's usually coach them into selling a higher dollar property because it's the same amount of work. And the other way you can help an agent is you give them an assistant, because the assistant then takes any of the kind of administrative work or the non-dollar productive work off their plate. And so really I see the coaching to a higher dollar, that's a strategy. And then the giving him an assistant, that's a strategy to help him actually do more transactions. So the assistant will help an agent do more transactions because they can take the busy away. And that way the agent can focus on talking to clients, prospecting, networking, doing outreach, checking in with the homeowners that they've already dealt with, all that kind of stuff that we know agents need to do. And you say, look, here's your assistant. Yeah. This person is here to make you more productive. Right? And so that's how to use it. And it's pretty straightforward. This is not revolutionary. It's just not very accessible because of the global workforce.
I know it's not revolutionary, but still it's a taboo for a lot of agents. I do have a lot of agents or solo agents that they came on their own and they hire a virtual assistant and they're doing pretty well. And I know that many occasions people are very reluctant to hire virtual assistants because some virtual assistant companies don't have good reputation, or maybe they're in like another part of the world and they're concerned about time zones and many other things, right? I guess just finding the right company, is what you need to do.
Yeah.
You have to do your research, I guess.
Yeah, it's that relationship. I mean, we looked for a company that had support specifically for the virtual assistant type of employee, because we weren't going to supply that kind of support. We were looking for an employee that had their own support. And so that's why we ended up working with VOOV and your team, is because you guys have a platform to support the virtual employee in terms of training and mentorship and other VAs that are doing similar work. And that just means you're going to be more efficient, because if you just hire a random person who's on an island somewhere and you have to train them and you have to get them up, you have to do everything with them, that's kind of a lot. Mostly agents don't have time to do that. Most executives don't have time to do that. So for us, it was important to look for who can we hire as a partner that has an infrastructure and has training and support and mentorship and employment program and the whole thing for those virtual employees, so that we don't have to supply that as a company. Because otherwise they're going to come to you and you have to supply that. You have to train them, you have to do everything. They don't have other resources they can rely on. So that was part of, and you guys met that criteria where we were looking for that supportive partner. And so that's not exclusively a VOOV sales pitch, but it was our criteria that led us to doing this week.
Absolutely. All right. So I call this section rapid fire questions or rapid fire round. They can be very short answers if you don't mind. So most overrated idea in real estate right now. Most overrated idea or a strategy in real estate right now that you think it's happening right now. Spicy one.
I think the most overrated strategy right now is that AI will solve all your problems, right? So I think that's the most. I also think it's the most underrated long-term idea. I think in the long term, yes. I think in the short term, no. So if you're just playing around with AI, it's not going to solve your problems. You have to be strategic and thoughtful with it. It's like any other powerful tool. You have to use it properly.
Absolutely. All right. So a book that you recommend every real estate agent to read.
Yeah, Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Which is
I know that one.
Yeah, Atomic Habits, which is about, it studies how you build good habits. And it also talks about how to link habits together so you can build whole chains of productive ways of being. And I think for most agents, that's what this business is about building productive habits that lead to a good income as a real estate agent, because you're your own boss. There's no one going to tell you what to do every day. So that whole building of habits is super important. And I think it's a must read. I think it's foundational.
Awesome. Now I call this section the $1 million question, and it's a loaded question usually. So if you were starting a brokerage today, no brand, no legacy, what would you do in the first 100 days?
Well, in the first, so there's fundamentals here. If you're starting your brokerage from scratch with no brand and no legacy, so the first thing you do is you establish a vision, and then you recruit to that vision. So whatever your particular vision is, we did this when we built Good Life Team years ago. Is that we had a vision of being able to take an average real estate professional, average real estate agent, and really turn them into a full-time real estate professional. That was our vision. We said we think we can do that, and so everything we organized was around that. Was how do we get an agent that sells 3 or 4 homes a year, so where they can sell 20 homes a year? And so that was our organizing vision. And then we recruited people to that, and we spent the time hunting down people that were in that category, that were a good fit, and that really wanted to go from I'm selling 3 to 5 homes a year, I really want to sell 20. We said, okay, are you willing to do what it takes? And then we recruited to that specific vision. So I think having a specific vision and then getting the people who are excited and energized about that vision on board. And that's the focus. If you're building something from scratch, that's what you need to do in the first year of your business.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, as a final message to the industry, if every team leader, brokerage owner, agent is listening to you right now, what do you want to say to them for this 2026?
Well, we are in a time of remarkable change in the industry. And, my partner's been writing books about the industry since the 90s. And I've been in the industry since 2001. And right now, we had the industry changing lawsuits, the new practices. We had one of the largest mortgage operators buy one of the largest real estate companies in the industry. We have artificial intelligence showing up at the same time. We have an uncharacteristically challenging market where we've been in a real estate recession for almost 4 years now. We're coming on 4 years now. So that's a lot of pressure. So what matters now are your networks and the people that support your business. Like, that is what matters most now. People that build and continue to support strong networks, you will make it through this and you will grow your company. If you're not reaching out, if you're not utilizing your networks, if you're not building relationships, you're going to be in trouble. You're probably already in trouble. So that's the thing. Like, just know that's where we are with all this change, is you need to be with people that are dedicated to building their businesses and building it with you and being part of your life and part of your business. So that's what I tell people right now. That's how to make it through 2026, because 2026 is not going to solve all problems. We're going to be in basically the same market we've been in for a while. There's some green shoots, but they said that last year. Oh, it's like there's green shoots. Looks like the market is going to be better. I don't know.
Well, it's getting a touch better every year, though. I can say that.
A little bit better every year. We got more inventory, but that isn't because of that's just because people eventually go, I have to move, right? That's because people eventually go, I got a job in another state, I got to sell my home. So we're solving that inventory problem a little bit at a time, but it's not gonna remarkably change. And then the other thing I would tell people is the history is very clear on this. I've been through two market cycles in this industry, and the people that now's the time for growth. Now's the time to invest. Now's the time to grab market share, because the people that give up, you take over their spot in the market, right? The people that get out, great, that's perfect. And actually, there's a lot of evidence, and we have this in our business where we've seen that some people are having fantastic years because their market competition is so depressed and so many people have gotten out that now's the time when you can acquire a business. Now's the time when you can fold in that team over there. Like, people are willing to talk to you now because the market has been hard on them. And then they're looking for leadership. They're looking for who's going to help me, through this tough period, who's going to lead me through this tough period. So if you're a team leader or a broker or just ambitious, then you can have conversations today. When the market's good, nobody will talk to you. When the market is, when a person's selling a bunch of real estate, they don't care. They're not going to join your team. They're not going to join your brokerage. They're doing fine. But when things are hard, that's when you can talk to them and say, hey, why don't we team up? Why don't you come over here and join our thing? And we're going to do better together, right? So that's the opportunity that this kind of an environment brings, is that. And I think people should lean into that growth mindset while it's hard to grow things. It's hard to grow things right now. So lean into the growth mindset. You'll be the only one growing things. Next thing you know, 2 or 3 years later, you're the biggest game in town, or you're on top of your own particular mountain. So that's the message right now. Don't let the difficult time wear you out. Let it energize you, and then move with it, to take advantage of it. And that's the way you take it. And I've seen it through the coming out of the Great Recession. Some companies that really struggled, and eventually they joined forces with other people, and the people they joined got bigger and bigger and bigger. That's how Keller Williams grew. That's how EXP's grown. That's how a lot of great companies have grown. But they've said, we're going to lean into this, and we're going to use it to grow our businesses during a challenging market. And I'd say that we're in that same situation today. That window's going to close, and people are going to go, darn, I missed it. I should have recruited a bunch of people. I should have built my business while the market was hard. Like, don't be that person. Be that person that took advantage of the moment you're in. Whether it's using AI or recruiting or acquiring a company or building something competitive in this kind of a market, now's the time to do it. So get moving.
Absolutely. Jack, thank you very much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
It was awesome. I really appreciate the time. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. See you around. Jack, thank you for bringing such clarity, insight, and depth to today's conversation. It's not every day we get to learn directly from someone helping shape the future of the entire industry. And to our audience, if this episode gave you value, direction, or a new vision to lead through, be sure to follow, like, share, and drop a comment. Until next time, lead with data, grow with purpose, and keep cracking the code.